Dogs are awesome. I mean, literally, just a smile on a dog's face has the ability to light your heart up. And I've even come up with an equation for this, just how awesome they are. Take anything, any situation that there is. Fire a dog in there, and it's going to become awesome. For instance, mud. It's not awesome. But now you put a dog into that situation, and you have awesome. And the best part is that science backs up just how awesome dogs are. Harvard University recently conducted a study and found that just by owning a dog, it not only does it have the ability to make you happy, but it can make you healthier. Just petting your dog has the ability to lower your blood pressure, lower your heart rate, make you calmer and more mindful. Owning a dog has those who are isolated within their homes getting out more interactive, interacting within their communities. I've even come up with an equation thinking and showing that dogs have the ability to grow our communities. For instance, take a look at Jack. Jack never really got out much, stayed at home a lot. That wasn't until he got a puppy. And then Jack was forced to get out and walk his puppy. Here is where Jack meets Jill. Jill falls in love with Jack's puppy. 1 year later, they have a baby, community growth. And 41% of North Americans today actually have a dog. Now, as awesome as dogs are, sadly, they're flawed, according to science. You see, dogs today aren't living that long, not as long as they should, and they're dying very young. And when we ask the questions why, these animals are leading in some pretty scary statistics. And we have to start looking around the world at these statistics. We know that in the last 5 years in the United Kingdom, diabetes is up 900% when it comes to the dog. In North America, the obesity epidemic is up 60%. These animals are plagued with obesity, and that statistic continues to climb. And the worst one, the most staggering statistic of all, the one that is decimating our pets all over the planet, is cancer. 1 in 2 dogs today will succumb to cancer. And in fact, research is showing that out of any mammal on the planet, the dog has the highest rate of cancer. And this has left scientists scratching their heads. What's happening? So what you're seeing now is the largest canine study to ever be conducted. 3,000 dogs, $25 million to figure out why is the dog so broken. And it's being conducted on golden retrievers. So we have to ask the question, what is going on? Now, according to Dr. Lappin, who's involved in the study, he said that when he graduated from vet school in the 70s, dogs used to live to be 17. Sadly, today, they're only living to be 11. And the golden retriever itself is only living to be 9 or 10. So what is it? What are these factors that are plaguing us with cancer? Well, I'll tell you, when the Broad Institute conducted an extensive study with cancer, they found mind-blowing information. Literally every human had his jaw on the ground when the research came out. And it showed that although 10% of cancer is genetic, 90% are the results of lifestyle and environmental factors, the things that are around us. And so if we want to dig deeper into that 90%, let's remove the 10% for a second. You can't change your dog's genes if you went and you adopted your dog from a shelter. So what's in that 90%? Well, if we were to fire it into like a cancer pie and we were to remove slices, what is research telling us? What's causing all this cancer? Stress, obesity, infection, sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, and toxins and pollution. But it leaves us with this giant piece to the puzzle, that big piece right there. And what is it you're seeing? It's diet. And according to science, this is the most important piece that we're not focusing on. In fact, after multiple studies, 30 to 40% of all cancers can be prevented by simply implementing dietary changes.
Welcome to the Wolfeboro Exchange. This is a topic that I have always wanted to cover for the last 10 years. I luckily came upon this video at the right time in my life. This was a TED Talk back from 2016 or 18. The entire talk's about 20 minutes. It's Radio Beam who does the talk is fantastic. He does a lot of talks on dogs and has traveled the world looking at dogs and dog health and really just improving in the fields with canines and their health and approaches to health. I have a yellow lab, Brody, who is 14 years old, 107-pound yellow lab, been with me since day one. Fantastic human being, fantastic human dog being, just great, amazing. He is a human being to me. That's why I say it that way, in the sense that he is my best friend in a lot of ways. And since a puppy, I've had him. So, it was about 2015, 2016, and he was 5 or 6 years old. And, I find a small lump on his body, which turns out to be a very, very aggressive form of mast cell cancer. And mast cell cancer is very much like melanoma for dogs. So it starts off as a skin cancer, but then immediately goes inside the body and can be very deadly to a dog. We luckily caught that one early enough, but they were able to do testing to kind of look at what were the possibilities of this type of cancer coming back, and the results that we got were very, very high likelihood that the cancer would represent itself again, and it was a very, very aggressive form of mast cell cancer. So obviously, at that time I was freaked out. What can I do to help in, make the possibility of this not coming back greater, and what can I do to, enhance his life going forward? So I was freaked out, and I came upon this, searching the internet for all kinds of things. I'm lucky. I use Winter Harbor Vet Hospital here in Wolfeboro, and I've been there, been using them since Brody was a puppy, and they're fantastic in the sense, when you deal with medicine for human beings, there's a lot of pushback when you leave the natural medical world, and when you look at holistic approaches to medicine and other non-FDA approved types of treatment for anything, whether it be human being things or animal things. It's nice to be able to work with a vet that's been open all these years to new approaches, and I could bounce ideas off of. So, after the initial diagnosis and the removal of the cancer by the vet, and the staging of it, and the realization that it could come back, more than likely it would come back, I started exploring other things that I could possibly do to, one, enhance his life for how much time he had before it came back, and two, how could I prevent this? Were there other avenues that I could look at? And that's where I came upon this TED Talk. And what this TED Talk, and if you don't get a chance to watch it, I'll summarize it for you. But what this TED Talk, shows, and in my 10 years doing research on different pet foods and things like that, what this shows is that the food that we feed our dogs, when you take all the environmental factors out of it, all the things you can't control, where you live, the environment in which the air that our dog breathes, and things like that, the genetics. What you can control is the food the animal eats, and there's a whole range. There's the whole gambit of which you can run on. Whether you want to remove kibble completely from your dog's world, which is it's very, very hard for a lot of people. I didn't take that approach. So, in the TED Talk, and just to summarize it, if you want to change your dogs, and by no means I'm not a vet, I'm not a doctor. I'm just somebody who has a 14-year-old, 107-pound yellow lab that I have spent those 14 years figuring him out, and him figuring me out, and me figuring out what's the best approach for his health. So in that time, what I did is I watched the TED Talk, and then I kind of explored what other people were doing out there and how they were feeding their animals, because dog food is highly, highly, highly processed. I mean, if you can get food into a kibble-shaped form, it takes a massive amount of heat to do that, and a massive amount of pressure in order to accomplish what they call kibble, which is FDA approved in most things. But when you remove, and it was actually, it's funny because growing up, my parents would always say to me, don't feed the dog table scraps. It's bad for them to make them fat. Well, that was actually, there's a lot of literature out there that pet food companies actually put that slogan out there. They didn't want people feeding food from the table because the dogs might actually be getting better food than what was available to them at the time in the dog food bags, which the pet food industry, we talk about medicine and pharmaceuticals, the pet food industry is a major player when it comes to being able to lobby. And pet food, provides a lot of great nutrients, but it doesn't provide everything a dog needs. So if you look at that bowl of kibble, if you were able to remove 1/3 of that bowl of kibble and put healthy, whole foods, whether it be vegetables, if your dog will tolerate it, Brody gets a salad almost every night, because almost every night we eat a salad. So Brody gets the leftover salad every night in our house. Brody gets ground hamburger. He gets chicken. He gets the things that we eat also go into his bowl. He's great because he eats vegetables, so I can feed him vegetables during the day. And I've seen a remarkable improvement in his overall health. Since the time of about 6 or 7 years old through now, he's been eating that diet. And I've also supplemented turkey tail mushroom. If you have a chance, and turkey tail is an old Chinese mushroom. It's been used for decades, hundreds, maybe thousands of years in Chinese medicine. I take turkey tail every day. It helps boost your immune system. Canine Matrix makes a great turkey tail powder that goes right in the dog's food. It's a powder. Put a little bit on. Sprinkle a little bit of water on top of that. Give it to the dog. They seem to love it. I can tell when he doesn't have it. His coat gets drier. He sheds more. Overall, he just does way better on turkey tail mushroom than off of it. We talk about biohacking and longevity and in human life, and what we can do to maximize our vitality and our energy. So I looked at what I could do to maximize his vitality and his energy. So let's cue that video. So this video was just from a couple days ago. It's a great video too. I'll go through after the video. I'm going to go through some other things that I have spent a lot of time looking at when it's come to his health. He was recently diagnosed with, not recently, but probably about 10. He was recently diagnosed with degenerative myopathy, which is basically makes your hind legs eventually go to the point where dogs won't be able to get up. The myelin sheath that sends the signal from the brain to the back legs and then eventually to the front legs starts to break down with degenerative myopathy, and the signal isn't able to travel as well from the brainstem back to the back legs, and they become more and more unstable. He got diagnosed at 10, and he's 14 now, which it's really unusual that the progression took that long. Usually a much faster progression. It's very similar to ALS in people. So I want you to see this video. It's from last weekend. Brody. Going for a swim. One of his favorite activities, even at 14. And in the water, obviously the pressure that the water takes off the legs, the blades, he moves around a lot better and a lot easier. And he really enjoys it still. So one of the activities that he can still do. Back in the day, we used to throw the stick way out, but just in case you got to swim out after him. don't want it to be a mile away.
It's gonna be a little slippery.
Yeah, it's very slippery in there. So I was down at Mass Landing. A lot of dog hair on the water. Hope the Lake North Watershed doesn't see that. But anyways, no, he was down at Mass Landing, and I take him for a swim down there occasionally, more in the summer. Water therapy has been great in his as he's gotten older with his legs and keeping. So with degenerative myopathy, and a lot of dogs get this in their later years, and certain breeds, Labradors, Golden Retrievers, and some of the bigger breeds are more prone to it. Water therapy to keep, so as the process continues, they also what's called muscle wasting, so they lose muscle. So keeping them actually exercising, even if it's limited exercise like swimming, which is really good for them because their joints and everything like that as they get older, and just walking still, but keeping the muscle up so that they don't lose, they don't have much muscle wasting. It kind of slows the progression of the disease down. But it's an amazing topic, and I've always wanted to talk about it. It's dogs, their family. Like I said before, he's been with me. He's seen, people always say I would spend anything to keep my dog healthy, and it's really the truth because at times I've said I think he's like the $30,000 or $40,000 dog over the course of his lifetime and all his health care, especially being a Labrador. So we've been to the emergency vet handful of times for things that he's eaten over the years, things that he's gotten into. But it's just an experience. It's the man has had the dog, since the early hieroglyphics, they talk about the dog. We bring these animals into our homes, and they become a part of our life for 10, 14, 15 years if you're lucky. But obviously the old saying goes, we're their whole life. So it's been I've always wanted to do this show and talk about dogs and what he means to me. I have some pictures of, and the great thing about Brody is he's traveled literally all over the country with me, private jetted with me. Back in 2016 when I was working on a presidential campaign, we spent time in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Michigan, jet set it all over the place. He's traveled the country with me. So he's just a great human animal, as I said before. Here's some pictures of just him over the years. We have 3 dogs. Oh, and he travels. I mean, every day, up until the last couple of years, every day at work, he'd be in the back seat, hitting the road. There's no furniture in our house that is actually off limits to anything either, so it's a free-for-all, especially with 3 dogs. That was from last Halloween, or maybe, no, it was probably 2 years ago. And that was from 2016 or 2017 on top of Mount Major. Puppy back then. That's very young. Probably 2 or 3. A lot of politics in this dog's too. He's seen a lot of politicians, including myself. 2013, 2014, out at Barndore Island, and Puppy. Yeah, he was one of 13 or 14 in the litter. He was the runt too, and he's almost 107 pounds. He's been upwards of 110. We've kept the weight off of him as he's gotten older, so he's probably around 99, 100 right now. Lower the weight, better on the legs. But a lot of us have dogs, and they're a huge part of our life. And I just wanted to give back a little bit of knowledge. Check that TED Talk out. It changed my life. It changed the way that I thought that I viewed pet food, and I think it's an easy process if you can implement just a small amount of change in your pet's diet. You will greatly enhance the animal's life, both in just in overall health and then potentially in longevity as well. It's time and time again what as we know, what we put in our bodies, how you feel after you put something in your body. If you put something good and whole and healthy in your body, you feel good, and that's the same for a pet. So it was fun doing this. It's fun talking about this. It's been it's 14 years. It's amazing, and he's still doing well. He just had a checkup a few weeks ago. So get out there, take your dog for a walk, feed him or her well, and there's always pets available for adoption. We have one dog, Honey, who came from down south, and adopt some animals. There's some up at the Humane Society right now, some dogs and cats, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on the Wolfeboro Exchange. Thank you.